Welcome, everyone. Today I have a fascinating story for you. Something that recently happened between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This is not just about politics. It's about power, persuasion, and negotiation. And guess what? This story will also help you improve your English. You will learn real-life conversations between world leaders. You will understand how to express opinions strongly and how to respond in tricky situations, and you will pick up new words and phrases used in political discussions. So sit back, listen carefully, and let's dive into this dramatic meeting. Part 1. The Arrival and First Words. It was a cold morning in Washington, D.C. The sun was shining, but the air was filled with tension. Zelensky's plane had just landed. He stepped out dressed in his signature military-style outfit. He looked tired. After all, his country was still fighting a war, and he had flown for almost 10 hours to be here. But this meeting was important. He needed something from Trump, and Trump, well, he wanted something too. Zelensky arrived at the White House at exactly 10:30 a.m. Cameras flashed as he walked in. Journalists whispered, trying to guess what would happen inside. Inside the Oval Office, Donald Trump was already waiting. He sat in his chair, leaning back with his signature confidence, a small smirk on his face. When Zelensky entered, Trump stood up, walked toward him, and shook his hand firmly. Trump. Smiling. "Mr. President, welcome back. Long flight, huh?" Zelensky. Nodding. "Yes, long flight, but I am here because this is important." They both sat down. The cameras were rolling. The world was watching. Trump leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. He was in control, or at least he thought he was. Trump. "So tell me, Volodymyr, how are things going in Ukraine?" Zelensky. "Well, as you know, we are still at war. We need more support from the U.S. We need weapons, financial aid, and sanctions on Russia." And this is where things started to get interesting. Trump, instead of answering immediately, smirked again. He looked at Zelensky carefully, then said, "Trump. You know, Volodymyr, a lot of people say this war could have been avoided. Maybe if you had negotiated with Putin differently, we wouldn't be here today." Zelensky's face changed. His expression became serious. Zelensky. "With all due respect, Mr. President, we did negotiate, but Putin does not keep his word." The room went silent for a moment. The tension was so thick you could almost touch it. Trump tapped his fingers on the desk. Then, with a small chuckle, he said, "Trump. Well, I like leaders who know how to make a deal, and I believe every war has a deal somewhere in it." Zelensky leaned forward. Now he wasn't here to play games. Zelensky. "And I believe every war has a victim. My people are dying. This is not just politics for me." Trump looked at him. For the first time, he didn't smile. Part 2. The tension escalates. As the meeting continued, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance began to express their frustrations more openly. Vance. Vice President of the United States. "Mr. President, with all due respect, it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict." Zelensky. "First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you. But you have a nice ocean and don't feel it now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless you, will not have war." Trump. "You don't know that. Don't tell us what we're going to feel." The conversation then took a personal turn, focusing on President Zelensky's attire. Known for his military-style clothing since the Russian invasion, Zelensky's choice not to wear a traditional suit became a point of contention. Brian Glenn, a commentator allied with Trump. Mr. President, don't you think it's disrespectful to meet the President of the United States without wearing a suit? Zelensky. I will wear a suit when the war is over. My attire reflects the ongoing struggle of my people. Despite Zelensky's explanation, the criticism continued, highlighting cultural differences in the weight of expectations during such high-profile meetings. Trump. You don't have the cards right now with us. You start having cards. Zelensky. I'm not playing cards. I'm very serious. I'm the president in a war. The exchange became increasingly heated, with both sides standing firm in their positions. Trump. You're gambling with millions of lives. You're gambling with World War III, and what you're doing is very disrespectful to this country that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have. Vance. Have you ever offered thanks? You're wrong. The meeting, intended to strengthen alliances and discuss critical support, had devolved into misunderstandings. The personal criticisms and escalating tensions underscored the complexities of international diplomacy during times of conflict. Part 3. The Final Showdown. The room was filled with tension. Zelensky was frustrated. He had come all this way, traveled thousands of miles only to be mocked and questioned. Trump and his team were not making things easy, but Zelensky was not going to back down. He was the leader of a country at war. He needed to stand firm. Trump. Listen, Volodymyr, let's be honest here. The U.S. has given you a lot of support, more than any other country, billions of dollars, and yet you come here asking for more. Where does it end? Zelensky looked directly at Trump. His voice was calm but firm. Zelensky. Mr. President, this is not about money. This is about survival. My people are dying every day. Russia is attacking us. If we stop fighting, we lose our country. Trump smirked. He tapped his fingers on the table. Trump. And if you keep fighting, what happens? More war, more destruction. Look, I don't like endless wars. I want peace. Zelensky's face changed. Zelensky. Then help us. Give us the support we need to win. Trump shook his head. Trump. Win? You think you can win against Putin? And here it was, the real issue. For a moment, the room went silent. Everyone knew that Trump had a complicated relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Many believed that Trump respected Putin, or even feared him. Trump. Putin is a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. Maybe instead of fighting him, you should talk to him. Zelensky couldn't believe what he was hearing. Zelensky. Talk to him? We tried. He doesn't listen. He wants to destroy Ukraine. Trump leaned forward, lowering his voice. Trump. Look, I can talk to Putin. If I were president, this war would already be over. You know that. Zelensky shook his head. He had heard this line before. Trump always said that he could stop the war, but he never explained how. And there it was. This meeting wasn't just about Ukraine. It was about Trump's political future. He wanted to win the next election, and he wanted to show the world that he was the only one who could control leaders like Putin. Zelensky felt frustrated. He needed real help, not politics. The conversation was over. Zelensky had made his case. Trump had made his point. And nothing had really changed. But one thing was clear. Trump saw himself as the deal maker. Zelensky saw himself as a fighter. And Putin? He was waiting, watching, ready to make his next move. As Zelensky walked out of the White House, journalists ran to him. Reporter: Mr. President, how did the meeting go? Zelensky took a deep breath. He looked at the cameras and said, Zelensky: I came here for help. I hope America still stands with Ukraine. Then he walked away. This story is not over. The war is still happening, the politics are still happening, and the future is still uncertain. But one thing is for sure, the world is watching. If you enjoyed this story and learned something new, make sure to subscribe. This story helped you improve your English. You learned real conversations. You understood world politics in an easy way. So hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more powerful stories. See you in the next one. What do you think about this intense conversation? Was Trump right? Or was Zelensky? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.